Once upon a time, there was a man named Daniel, a decorated soldier, who was finally returning home after a long and grueling deployment overseas. Daniel, still in his crisp uniform, navigated through the bustling airport with tired but hopeful eyes. He was finally heading home to see his beloved wife and young daughter. He was beyond exhausted, yet an unwavering sense of pride radiated from his demeanor. Clutched in his hand was a rare luxury for him, a first-class ticket, a reward he had finally allowed himself after years of hard work and sacrifices. As Daniel approached the first-class lounge, ready to enjoy a moment of comfort, his eyes scanned for an empty seat. That's when he noticed her, Lisa, an impeccably dressed woman with a tailored jacket and an air of importance, sitting near the window with her designer bag on the seat next to her. She had an aura of wealth and superiority, evident by the way she held herself, her chin slightly raised and her gaze scanning the room. "Excuse me," Daniel said politely, pointing to the seat next to Lisa. "I believe that's my seat." Lisa looked at him with a look that barely concealed her disdain. She glanced at his uniform and then back to his face, as if she couldn't quite believe what she was seeing. Finally, she spoke, her tone dripping with condescension. "Are you sure?" she said, raising an eyebrow. "This is first class." Daniel's jaw tightened, but he kept his voice steady. "Yes, I'm sure," he replied calmly. "I have a ticket for this seat." Lisa leaned back, her lips pursed as she continued to look him over, the skepticism in her eyes growing stronger. "I just find that hard to believe," she muttered under her breath. "You must have made a mistake." Daniel sighed, his patience thinning, but his resolve intact. He had faced far worse situations during his service, and he wasn't about to let one person's prejudice ruin his day. "There's no mistake. This is my seat," he said firmly. Lisa glanced around, as if hoping for someone to come to her aid. She then let out a small sigh, loud enough to show her disapproval. It was clear to Daniel that she didn't think someone like him belonged in first class. The tension between them caught the attention of the flight attendant, who quickly approached. She smiled politely, asking if everything was okay. Lisa was quick to speak up. "I think there's been some mistake. This gentleman seems to think he belongs in first class," she said with a dismissive wave of her hand. The flight attendant took Daniel's ticket and examined it. "There's no mistake," she said, giving Lisa a firm look. "This is Mr. Jones's seat." Lisa's expression hardened, and she muttered something under her breath as the flight attendant handed the ticket back to Daniel, who took his seat without another word. Lisa shifted in her chair, her displeasure evident, but Daniel was determined not to let her ruin his moment. He stared out the window, focused on the thought of finally reuniting with his family. As the flight began, Lisa continued to sigh loudly, occasionally throwing sharp comments in Daniel's direction. She even flagged down another flight attendant, demanding that they check his ticket again. Daniel handed his ticket over with calm patience, knowing that he had nothing to prove to anyone. The flight attendant confirmed, yet again, that everything was in order. "I'm so sorry for the inconvenience, sir," she said quietly to Daniel. Daniel simply nodded. "It's not your fault," he replied. Unknown to either Lisa or Daniel, a fellow passenger, a businessman named Robert, was seated a few rows behind them, watching the entire scene unfold. Robert was a well-known philanthropist, and as he witnessed the blatant discrimination Daniel faced, he felt a surge of disgust. He wanted to intervene, but as he watched Daniel handle the situation with grace and dignity, he realized there might be a more impactful way to help. When the plane landed, Robert approached Daniel in the terminal. "Excuse me, sir. Daniel, isn't it?" Daniel turned, surprised. "Yes. Can I help you?" "I'm Robert," the man said, extending his hand. "I saw what happened on the plane. I just wanted to say I was really impressed with how you handled yourself." Daniel shrugged. "I've dealt with worse. It's not worth getting upset over." Robert smiled. "Maybe not, but it still says a lot about your character. I actually run a charity organization that helps veterans and supports minority-owned businesses. I think you'd be a great fit for a role we have." Daniel was taken aback. He had expected a quick compliment, not a job offer. "What kind of role?" he asked cautiously. Robert explained the organization's work and how they were looking for someone with leadership skills to help guide veterans transitioning to civilian life. Daniel found himself intrigued. After years in the military, he had been looking for a new purpose, a way to serve his community in a different capacity. "I'll think about it," Daniel said. "Please do," Robert replied. "We could use someone like you." In the weeks that followed, Daniel joined Robert's organization. He began helping veterans find their footing in civilian life, sharing his own experiences and offering guidance. The work was challenging but deeply fulfilling, and Daniel found a renewed sense of purpose. Meanwhile, Lisa was about to face an entirely different journey. The incident on the plane had been recorded by a fellow passenger, who later uploaded it online. The video quickly went viral, sparking a nationwide conversation about racism and privilege. Lisa found herself at the center of a media storm, her actions dissected and condemned by millions of viewers. As the backlash grew, Lisa's employer, a prominent marketing firm, decided to fire her, citing her behavior as unacceptable and against their values. Lisa's world crumbled around her. She lost her job, her reputation, and many of her friends who wanted nothing to do with the controversy. In her desperation, Lisa agreed to do an interview, hoping to salvage her reputation. She apologized, insisting that she wasn't racist, that it had all been a misunderstanding, but her apology came across as insincere, and the public's anger only intensified. Robert, seeing how events were unfolding, had an idea. He approached Daniel with a bold proposal. "What if we offered Lisa a chance to redeem herself?" Daniel raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "We could invite her to join our diversity program," Robert explained. "She could learn from her mistakes, and maybe even help educate others." Daniel was hesitant. He had no desire to work with Lisa after what she had put him through. But the more he thought about it, the more he realized that this could be an opportunity for real change, not just for Lisa, but for others who held similar biases. Eventually, Daniel agreed, and Robert reached out to Lisa. She was initially defensive, but with no other options, she reluctantly accepted the offer. Over the next several months, Lisa went through an intensive education program. She attended workshops, read books on racial bias, and participated in difficult conversations about privilege and prejudice. Slowly, she began to change. The culmination of her journey was a face-to-face meeting with Daniel. She apologized sincerely this time, her voice trembling. "I was wrong, Daniel. I'm so sorry for what I did to you. I've learned a lot about myself, and I'm committed to changing." Daniel listened, his expression serious. "I appreciate your apology, Lisa, but understand, this isn't the end. It's just the beginning of a lifelong journey." Lisa nodded. "I know, and I'm ready." Together, Daniel and Lisa began sharing their story as part of the charity's diversity training programs. They spoke at conferences, universities, and corporations, using their experience as a powerful example of prejudice, redemption, and the potential for growth. One day, after a presentation, a young woman approached them. "Your story really touched me," she said. "I realized I have my own biases that I need to confront. Thank you for inspiring me." Daniel and Lisa exchanged a glance, both feeling a sense of fulfillment. They had come a long way from that fateful flight, and their journey was far from over. But they were on the right path, using their story to inspire change, one conversation at a time.